Well, no, I just wanted to, I mean, he was asking me what my feelings on this were, and I, I actually have a friend right now, and Ryan, I told you about him. He's a first responder, and he has created an app specifically for first responders and for mental health for first responders. And even though I'm not a first responder, I have been taken by many first responders when I've had to go to the hospital for the neurological issues that I deal with on a daily basis. And so I've been, I would say, fortunate and blessed to have been in the arms and hands of some incredible first responders that have been there for me when I needed them the most. And I've also dealt with some first responders that haven't been very kind or compassionate either. But I've never thought in those moments to myself, you know, what I've gotten present to in those moments is that I wonder how these guys deal with this stuff. Because with me, you know, I know that first responders show up in situations that they're not equipped to necessarily know how to handle emotionally and mentally. And the system in which you guys are trained, that system is not set up to effectively train you to be able to handle those situations in a way where you can then go home at the end of your shift and be okay with your family and not take some of that stuff home with you. And so it concerns me about the system that actually trains first responders who are really there to help us and to be there for us, but the system in which is built to train you guys doesn't provide you guys what you need to effectively cope with the aftermath of whatever you went through that day before you go home to your families that night.
Yeah, I totally agree with you that they're not, and I'm sorry, you know, if some first responders didn't maybe treat you with the utmost respect or care, and I think some of that is maybe just that, right? They have never been trained to how to deal with their feelings, and I think in this career, empathy and sympathy goes up and down depending on how you're feeling about your life, and it happens in our, if you're a first responder or not, right? We have these cyclic things that happen, and I think with more training, you know, we could recognize our emotions and feel how, you know, learn how to deal with them. But what we're trained to do is, the very get-go of training is emotions to, when there's danger, to turn around and leave. That's a natural emotion for people, but not what we do. We do the exact opposite of that. We run towards danger and really don't think twice about that. And I think that does something probably in our makeup of our minds and emotions that are probably not really good long term.
I just want to say one thank you so much for saying that, and also too, I just want you to know you don't have to apologize. And even in those moments when I've experienced not a lot of compassion, I understand there's compassion fatigue, and I understand that, you know, literally a first responder could have come to me right after dealing with someone who was dying in their arms or someone who was trying to kill them. So I have a lot of compassion for what you guys deal with on a daily basis, and like you said, I mean, there needs to be an effective system for you guys in order to be able to, for you guys to be there for us. We also need to be there for you. The system needs to be there for you guys too. So I also want to thank you for what you do and for being there for people, because I don't know if you guys get thanked enough, but thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. We talked a little bit, and Amanda, you're very familiar with my friend Jay out of Toronto, who was an undercover with the Toronto Police Department for many, many years. And, you know, his complex post-traumatic stress disorder was so severe. He had to check himself in to the psychiatric unit in Toronto. You know, but the divine timing that him and I actually met, he used to be on one side of the fence, I was on the other side of the fence, but so similar. Like the commonalities were just absolutely so in alignment, you know, to this day. You know, we're very, very, you know, he's one of my best friends, but, you know, he was telling me how difficult it was, how many first responders, and I didn't understand this, but one of the things that he said is what you just said, is that the first responders got us, you know, they got us, but we forget about what they're witnessing. We forget about the blood. We forget about the accidents that they have to show up to. And, you know, they're putting their hearts on the line all the time. You got to be ready for the unexpected all the time. I mean, I thought hockey was tough, but I mean, not even close. I mean, so mad respect. You know, I don't know if I didn't tell you this, that post-traumatic stress disorder just became a thing in 1980. That was long after Vietnam.
Yeah. Right.
And so, I mean, that's only 33, 33 years. 33 years, it's not a lot. 43 years, sorry. There's my math. There's my brain working. I'm thinking I'm younger than I am. But it's just, so much has come to the forefront that it is a brain injury. It actually, and you have that, and then you throw on some TBIs. And I remember meeting a gentleman in Cancun back in 2006, and he was over in Afghanistan, and he'd done 2 tours over there. And I said, are you going back? You did 2. I didn't understand why he did 2. And, being from Canada, I wasn't in the know at that time. And he said, well, I'm supposed to do a 3rd, but they actually sent me to Cancun because they're worried about me because I have extreme post-traumatic stress disorder. And so now I'm done. I think he was maybe 32, 33, and he didn't have to do it. He actually was put on a compensation by the U.S. military because his mental state was so severe. And I mean, at that time, I wasn't in the mental health arena whatsoever. I didn't even know what PTSD was. So